And Mr. Chair, whenever you're ready, we can kick off here.
We can't hear you,
How's
Julie.
everybody doing?
Very well.
Hello,
Good.
Julian.
David, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Good.
Let's see. I guess we'll start off. It's good to see everybody. Let me make sure I see everybody. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us. Is that it? Missing anyone?
So yeah, I think Samay is not going to be able to make it, but I think otherwise we have everybody here.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So I guess I guess we'll get started with talking about the the match rates, unless there's any questions on what we talked about before. I had a question about the match rates. I guess I was reading a report about Montgomery County and it didn't match up with what we had on the match rate, so I was a little confused about that.
Give me 1 second, I'm going to pull up what was sent around about the. Oh, nope, that's not right. Sorry. Where is? Here we go. Okay. So I don't know. This was something Emily put together to sort of simplify some of the match stuff we were talking about into some more concrete choices, or into some more narrow choices. And I think I'll let her build out on this, but if she wants. But the basic premise here is that we could sort of twist and turn the numbers a lot of different ways, but ultimately it's really about once you get that 150, what does that match total up to? And so this is sort of that in total summary for executive and for council for all of them. I can maybe zoom in a little here. And the two sort of options that Emily put together that we could work with, basically what they would mean in either case is that $150 donation would be matched for executive with 600 and for council with 450, which is you can see in line with Montgomery and Howard and very similar to what Baltimore City and Prince George's did. So I can jump back and forth if there are questions about that, but that's sort of where these what these numbers lead to, and then the distinction in the choice is sort of, do you make them more bottom heavy, that 7-to-1 match on that first 25, or do you sort of do a cleaner piece that is the 50-50-50? So that was the rationale behind the narrowing to sort of these two choices, and we'll wanted to start there, see what folks think, or see if Emily has anything to add about her what she put together.
No, and I don't know if you had a specific question, Chairman, or if something we got wrong in the data pulling from Montgomery County, if we had their rates wrong or something. But
Well, I guess I was looking at Montgomery County, and I think if my memory, I'm looking at it now, I guess pulled up something real fast. This is not what I looked at before, but I guess this will do. And it said that it was like $4 for the first $50. Is that right?
that I have to pull it back up. That might be right for their county council. I think their county executive was matched higher.
Yeah, the county executive was.
What the total value of $150
Yeah, Mr.
donation
Chair,
was.
I have their code up now. It's $4. You're right, $4 for each dollar of a qualifying contribution for county council. County executive, that starts with $6 for every dollar. Both are for the first 50.
Okay.
And they're one of the counties where they did a different match for their county council and their county executive, which the feedback was it was pretty confusing. So that's why in the recommendations, you don't see a different match, but you see that you don't provide matching funds for the top last 50. So it still ends up being the same total amount of matching funds for $150 donations. It's just where they're matching is a little different.
Where was the confusion? Whether or not people knew the rules for county executive, for county council?
Yeah, I think it was confusing for constituents mostly to know when I make a donation to one council, one type of person, it's this. When I make it to a county executive, it's that.
Okay. I mean, I don't, where did the confusion come from? I'm not sure. And I hear what you're saying. You're saying it's from the constituents. And I guess I'm just wondering to myself, why would there be confusion? There's only two choices. It's not like
That's
it's
just the
10.
feedback we got. So, there could certainly be options to have a different set of matching, but that's why we look but the total match is not more by these recommendations. In Montgomery County, the total match was $450 for county council county council candidates. And the suggestions we have here are the exact same. It's a total match of $450 for contributions to county executive, for county council. So it doesn't ultimately do much different as far as the matching funds that the county is providing.
Okay.
So do folks have feedback on these these two options generally, and a preference between the two, I guess?
I mean, where is everyone? I mean, I
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, because I'm like in and out. Was there a question that I just missed?
Just general, feedback on how these sort of suggestions look, and then if there is a preference between the two for Baltimore County's program.
To match the first 50, you have 6-1, 3-1, 3-1, and then the final 100, no match, right? Then the second choice is 7-1, 4-1, 3-1. Those are the two that are in front of us. I really think I'll just put it out there. I like the idea of what Montgomery County did, starting with 4, not necessarily 6. I mean, we're getting to a point now where you might as well just open up the checkbook and give it to people.
I tend to agree with Julian.
So you're suggesting we have a different matching fund for the county council, because Montgomery County has a 6-1 for county executive. Their rates are different for county council. They provide the same amount as we're providing here. It's just a different, it might give it a little bit faster, I guess. I don't see I could try to figure out a separate for county council to use match rates. What
I
is?
guess I'm just looking at the optics. When this bill finally comes forward, to say that a person gives $50, the county will then turn and match it and give the person $300.
If I can weigh, I mean, I would just say, obviously, I'm always going to prefer matching the smallest amount at the highest rate where possible, because that is the intent of the program. And that is outside of MoCo, pretty much all of the jurisdictions have gone for something fairly similar, including the gubernatorial program. I think with MoCo, the only flag is to remember MoCo has more seats and it has the at-large seat. So there were other considerations there as well in terms of the amount, the overall cost of their program. Maybe there's a compromise, like meeting in the middle. I think we're saying 6 or 7, you're at 4. So maybe we're trying to go somewhere right in between. But it doesn't drive up the cost. So it doesn't drive up the cost by matching the smaller dollars at the higher rate, if that's the concern.
I guess the question is, are you suggesting 4-1 for county executive or 4-1 for county council?
I could go with with probably like the 5-1 for the county executive, and maybe a 4-1 or even 4-3-2 or something like that for county council.
Yeah, so that's what Montgomery County has. I would not support going below 6 for county executive, because that would have us coming in way lower than what any other county is providing, which would make people unlikely to use the program. For county council, yeah, we could propose a 4-3-2 match for county council, which would be exactly what Montgomery County is doing, but it wouldn't actually save the county any money. It would just be incentivizing donations, because you're matching the last 50 at a 2-1 rate, whereas this proposal has you not matching it at all. So if there's a big concern around optics, I don't have a big problem with that. I just want to be clear that it's just optics. It's not actually changing the amount of money the county is willing to give for donations.
Okay, I'm a little confused with what you said.
So for Montgomery County, they have a match rate of 4-1 for the first 50, 3-1 for the next 50, and 2-1 for the final 50. What we proposed, instead of giving that 2-1 for the final 50, we upped the first match to 6-1, to both incentivize smaller donations and to make it be the same match rate as county executive, since we got a lot of feedback on that. So you can shift that 2-1 match, add a match to the last 50 and have it be the same thing if you're worried about optics of it, a 6-1 match, but it's not actually changing the total amount of money the county is providing for a $150 donation to a candidate. And I'm not opposed to that. This was just, I thought simpler. And I do think most of the advocates would rather that match go to the first 50 instead of the last 50.
Well, number one, who cares about the advocates? Number two, we're talking about the taxpayers' money. And number three, I can appreciate what you can like and don't like, and what you will accept and don't accept. That's what we're here for. A lot of things here I'm not really crazy about, but we're going through it because we're a committee of however number we are, and that's what we're doing. So I say that to say you don't have veto power to say what you can and can't accept. Sorry, I'm a little forward.
So question, are we wanting to vote on, I don't know how, just because I know that this is is something we kind of keep going back to over and over again. And obviously as advocates, we want what's best for the county, and we're kind of going based off of best practices, but again, we're going to support what the work group wants, and we go from there as the bill is introduced. So I don't know if we want to vote on maybe the 4-3-2 for
4-3-2,
council.
yeah.
I think the county executive really is the big one where, again, I agree with Emily on not going under 6, because it really does just kind of put us under any other program. And even when we're looking at like the For the People Act, for example, even the rates in there do not go that low.
Want to make that as a motion?
Yes.
Okay,
Or at
why don't
least
you
on the
summarize
county-
that no motion?
Yeah, motion to at least vote on the county executive match rate 642.
I second that motion.
642 is, that's not even in front of us.
I'm looking at what's typed at the bottom of the page.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
No, I didn't even see that.
Sorry.
So
You
this
mean
is-
632, Joanne, or like what's written, or do you want to propose it's 4-2?
Wait. See, now I'm scrolling.
sorry. So this at the bottom is what Montgomery County does, if that's the.
Okay. And can you scroll up a tiny bit? I'm so sorry now.
Yeah. And then these were what Emily had laid out prior to the meeting.
6-3-3, yeah.
Okay. And did we talk, I mean, obviously, did we discuss the 7 at all, or is everyone kind of more comfortable with the 6? And this is just for county exec.
And it sounded like both of the council members were more comfortable with the 6. I don't know.
I'm fine with the county executive proposal.
Okay.
I'm actually fine with the council. What you put down, I'm fine with.
At the bottom,
At the bottom.
okay.
Julian, I think that's much more moderate, don't you think?
Well, that's what I had said in the first place, wasn't it?
I like those two. So if you make the motion for those two, I'll second it.
And this is the
Well-
642, right? I just need to.
Yeah, 642
Yeah.
and the council
642,
432.
And then there's a 432.
Yep, those two.
Okay. So
So
I will-
could you explain to me the difference between the 642 and the 633? Is there that much difference in?
It would
payout?
be not much difference in payout, but it would be where, again, we're at least going for the contributions under $100. In this case, I can't see if we scroll up, but they're still being amplified at the highest rate. Would
Okay,
be the biggest difference, but overall cost still the same.
okay.
Yeah, if you scroll down, so using exactly what Montgomery did, that would be overall matching $600 to $150 contributions to exact, which is exact same thing as 633. And for county council, it would be, let me just do the math real quick, 450. So it's the exact same amount of value. All it's doing is setting separate match rates for the two.
The money up front versus, okay,
Yeah.
I think it's a good compromise.
Sure, I'm fine with that.
okay.
So
Yep,
I'll
so I'll-
motion, I was gonna say, I'll motion for county executive to go with match rates of a 642.
I'll second that.
Motion the whole thing, Joanne, council and
Yeah,
executive.
motion, yeah.
Oh,
You
we're
want-
okay. Okay, so I will, are you sure? Okay, so I will move forward with motioning the entire thing. County executive, match rates of 642, county council, match rates of 432.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded. I guess we'll just call for a vote. I think we, by consensus, we all agree.
Yes,
Yes.
Yep.
Any
Yes,
nay?
agreed.
I vote yes.
Okay. Move on to the next item.
We should cheer
Okay.
like a
Yes. So I think in terms of what we have that is, I would say, significant, things that were termed differently in other jurisdictions that does reach a conclusion. So there is a lot of meat to the rest of this meeting, but I did want to preface it by saying we're sort of looking at items that are policy choices, but where all 4 other jurisdictions sort of made either the exact same or very similar choices, we just didn't want to breeze through those and assume, you know, that the work group felt the exact same without really highlighting them. So the first being, I can throw the that document back on screen, but the first being what we do about sorry, that is way too far out. Okay. So here we see with how we treat contributions within or outside of the county. And Josh, can you do a refresher on qualifying versus eligible contributions for the group?
Yeah, absolutely. And Joanne, Emily, you guys are more than welcome to correct me on any point, of course. Qualifying contributions are those contributions you need to collect ahead of applying for or qualifying for the public financing program. So in the other 4 jurisdictions, those contributions specifically are restricted to county residents. Eligible contributions moving forward are contributions that are eligible for matching funds once you've been accepted into the program. And so, as you
I
can
don't
see,
think that's right.
is that not right? Okay.
No, eligible, they can make contributions, but they cannot receive matching funds.
Understood.
Section.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry to cut you off. I just didn't want to get that out there since I don't think that's right anywhere.
No, please.
So
Is
the
it possible to make this a little bit larger?
yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
So what we're saying then is what all 4 counties have done is said for the program, for the match, we'd limit what can be matched to county residents, but you can still receive money up to $250 from outside of the county. And we wanted to see how folks felt about that. I know, you know, other proposals have flown around at certain points about in district or out of district, things like that, but just wanted to open it up of you know, this is what other folks have done. The main thing being, if you want to match, you need to be in county.
I certainly would agree with that.
Makes sense.
Okay, I will just sort of move through unless I hear anything that doesn't sound like consensus. So if that's all right. So the next piece, I think there's a few slight differences, but all 4 jurisdictions in one way or another allow a candidate and their spouse either to each give 6,000 or some form of collectively give 12,000. And wanted to see if there was any objection or feedback to doing the same here. That be, you know, the 6,000 in a non-public finance system in Maryland is the individual limit, and this being the idea that a candidate and their spouse are the only ones who can contribute to their own campaign above that 250 threshold.
Just clarify. Sorry, we're on the loans limit, just clarifying because you have or others, just specifying, I believe most jurisdictions, if they allow others, it is their adult child.
Okay.
Yeah. But I just
So,
want to make sure we're more specific there with the others piece.
but that is, those monies are not matched, correct?
No.
So, I really think you probably should limit it to the person and their spouse if you want to allow that. I don't think you should get into adult children because what if they have 4 kids?
I'd be
Still an aggregate match of 12,000. I'm fine with limiting it, but just
yeah.
if you have 4 kids, they each give less, but you can, no matter how many people give from your family, it cannot in aggregate board be more than $12,000. I think is.
But I have no position on limiting.
I have no,
If you want it to
I'm
be
fine
just
with whatever you want to do for who can do it or yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you, Dave?
I don't mind adult children if it's an aggregate amount of 12,000.
12,000 total?
Yeah. Within your immediate family, right?
Great.
Yeah, the idea was for folks who might be a single mother, single father, you know, they don't necessarily have the spouse.
Right.
And there's a difference between adult children and immediate family. Just to be clear, you don't care about the 12,000, don't care about the 12,000. I wouldn't, I would go with, if you had to do it at 12,000, then leave it at immediate family. You start getting into adult children, what's that, 18 years old, is an adult, 17 is not. I'm gonna leave it
I
at
don't
12.
I don't know many 17-year-olds that have that sort of money, but no.
And will this be reviewed I guess we're getting into that, but 25 years from now, when our children's children are involved in this, I guess that would be reviewed for the amount. It's not like a charter with the county that this will be the amount forever. Is that correct?
Yeah, the amendment process on these honestly never ends after, I mean, I shouldn't say never ends, but after every election cycle, ideally, you know, you are making improvements. This is where the commission comes in and maybe is highlighting issues as well.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, especially after the first use, there probably will be improvements made.
Lots of tweaking.
Lessons
Okay.
learned.
Thank you.
So it sounds like though that the 12,000 idea as a broad thing has no objection in the work group, and folks will
Correct.
stop me if that's not correct. Okay.
And what was the, so we're going to say immediate family, the 12,000? As opposed to splitting hairs on adult children?
Fine with me. I don't know if you'll have to, your counsel will tell us if we have to define it. It's fine with me.
Okay.
So if this represents what folks think the consensus is, then we'll move on. And then this piece, I think, is not a super big deal, but the idea that the qualifying contribution limit is tied to the consumer price index and is updated periodically. Actually, don't presumably just to match inflation, but I don't know, Emily or Joanne, if you could speak to why that sort of policy piece is in there.
Was that the consumer, sorry, because the consumer price index piece?
Yes.
This is where, unfortunately, I don't want to give incorrect information. This is more where I don't know if the recommendation has come from the state board, but this is just a piece that's been adopted in all of the bills. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember much more beyond that either. Probably a fail safe if the, you know, to make sure it's going up a little bit, even if the commission isn't reevaluating. I think it's tied to other, yeah, this usually came from the council members, I think, or maybe it came from the Board of Elections.
Well, and ultimately, if there's not a lot of investment in this piece, we also don't have to make a recommendation on it at all. It was just one we flagged as a potential policy decision, but not one that's a make or break for this program. So
I don't like this.
I would actually, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
You don't like it? I mean, I don't fully understand it, but I would say since it's in all of the others and it's in the statewide one as well, and maybe this is where we check with the state board, but I don't want to say it's not needed either, because it's been one of those things where it hasn't been debated. It's just been a consistent, like, this needs to be here.
I guess the issue is, you have a board that most likely after every election are going to make recommendations. I'm not necessarily sure whether or not this piece will really make that much sense. And for example, the employees of Baltimore County, the retirees, the first thing they would say is our cost of living adjustment is not tied to the consumer price index. We don't get a cost of living adjustment, so why is it so important that we would tie this rounded to the nearest? It's not going to be a lot of money. That's not going to be a lot of money. And whatever the money is, the board can recommend a change.
What other commodities are tied to the CPI? Gasoline taxes are, right? Aren't some labor agreements somehow tied to wages and things and inflation?
Not really. I mean,
there are other things that are tied to it. I just think that
many jurisdictions will tie the like the cost of living adjustment on the pension,
right,
to certain issues, certain funds. Baltimore County does not.
Right.
And that's been a source of complaint from employees for quite some time. And it's not going to be a lot of money.
Are you willing to go along with this, Julian? Or
I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. I guess see it as another target in terms of the employees can't get a cost of living adjustment based on anything.
Yeah.
And we're so concerned about this money that we would change it. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's.
I agree. I don't think we should do this.
And I can honestly, I'll support you all. And I think, later on, if like Jared flags, maybe we have that conversation again. But for now, I'm fine with that.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah.
So we'll just say no recommendation then for this. We'll just leave this topic alone.
Listen, we come up with the amount, and we can the board can change the amount if they think the amounts need to go up.
Gotcha.
This is a strategy to set it and forget it and never look at it again. But reality is always going to be tweaks and changes.
Right. Alrighty. Well, then that puts us through these few things. The last sort of we sort of chunked it out in many things on the agenda, but really the last big topic here is to talk about this commission. And I'm going to jump around what I'm sharing here, but I sort of wanted to do a little intro piece here with that's not the right one. There we go. So jumping back to the original charter amendment legislation that was passed by the council in, oh God, when was that? February, March of 2019. It does say a little bit about what this commission needs to be, but not much. And so it tells us that 7 county residents appointed by the council, 2 by the executive, and that we need to provide for the terms and qualifications officers of that commission. And then in terms of the commission's duties, it's responsible for about 6 months before the end of the fiscal year to give a binding recommendation to the county executive on what annual appropriation will be put into the budget for this program. So beyond this sort of what this makeup is here and what their main duties are here, there's not a lot built out on what that commission is going to look like. There are some similarities between what other counties have done, and we try to it's a little looser, but we tried our best to summarize that in the document we sent out, which I'll pull back up again. Let me got too many things open here. Here we go. So maybe
I see things in here that I was going to suggest, like making sure they're not on the lobbyist. I don't think they should be on the party central committee, for example. They should be divorced a bit from partisan activities.
so yeah, the qualifications piece, that's probably a good place to start. This is what Howard did, which is almost identical to what Prince George's did. I think initially Montgomery's was a little more vague, and they added some things to beef it up, but I think wanted to see, I think beyond this first one, which is kind of a given of must be a resident, how folks felt about the lobbyist piece. The central committee piece is actually not something I've seen in other ones, but is a good point for discussion. So I'm not sure the best way to do this, but I thought maybe looking at these two examples and then thumbs up or thumbs down if they're a good idea, and then adding to that list with our own ideas like the central committee piece might be a good way to do it.
So let me ask you a question, Joe. You cannot be a candidate in the next cycle?
That was my question. How can you tell?
I mean, a person can wake up and change their mind? Or once you accept this position, you're saying you can't do it?
I mean, I think there's no way to really know, but I do think it's discouraging the person who maybe is like just kind of they've thought way ahead of time. I don't think there's anything wrong with having it in there, but by the time they would reach their election cycle, in theory, they would have been termed out anyway, because it is a 4-year term. But I want to say that is in Howard counties as well.
But I mean, look, I'm okay with it because I was just curious about it because it's a 4-year term, depending on when the term commences.
Yeah.
Well, could it be something like if someone decides to run for election that they recuse themselves or then they vacate the spot?
So if you have the inclination that you want to run for office, don't accept this position.
Yeah, and they would have to anyway because they can't be a candidate.
Now, in reality, I know the issue is always, forgive me, but so what? I mean, do we build in some type of, we say you can't do it. We've been through this with Ken Oliver, right? You say you can't do it, person does it, so what? There's no punishment, penalties. Only thing you could add in there is that the person would not be eligible for the election fund funding in the next cycle. You would have to add that in there. That would be the hook. Other than that, if they change their mind, they change their mind.
Yeah, I don't think it adds much. So
yeah, for the post-election piece.
The qualified, you're fine, and I'm fine with adding central committee members.
I think central committee and Julian, do you have appointed members of your central committee or yours all elected? Ours are all elected.
Mine is all, well, it all depends. I mean, they're elected to start with, but then you have the gender balance, you have all sorts of stuff, you have people stepping down, and that's how they can end up being appointed.
Councilman Marks, we do have in our area at least one appointed person too who is not elected. So
right. Yeah, we could just say member of the central committee. That does it.
There you go.
Because I fall in that category. I was appointed when someone stepped down in my district for the Central
Mm.
Committee.
Yeah, no, I got you. And we do that too. Okay.
So are we
The
good
other-
with qualifications? Or are there other things folks wanted to add?
I was just going to say the only flag in the qualifications piece is that not all jurisdictions require that the commissioner be a registered voter, although I think most of them end up. I mean, I can't even confirm, but Montgomery County does not explicitly say, that they have to be a registered voter. I don't believe that's the case in Baltimore City either. So Howard County and Prince George's County here are the only ones that clearly outline that piece. And I think for MoCo, again, someone can be a citizen and they're not registered. And then obviously MoCo, there's just active legal residents of the county too.
Or younger, or a young 17-year-old or something?
Yeah, I
tell you,
mean, I don't think we have anyone that young, but yeah.
Yeah, that was the
technically,
idea.
I was looking at, I was really thinking, I know we've had a number of issues in the past where I really was looking at not just having registered voters, but maybe have them be registered for 3 years or something. I wouldn't want it to have a situation where you have a person who's not a registered voter, who goes out
Right,
and
I think
registers to vote today and be appointed to the committee tomorrow.
Maybe just registered voter, but not specifying the time. Again, just thinking about maybe there is a young person. I know Samay's not here, but I know he's always lifting up young people, right? And maybe that person has only been registered at that point for a year or two, right? And they wouldn't be eligible because we've set this 3-year mark.
Okay. I'm okay
Good
with
point. Good
registered
point,
voter.
Joanne.
People are good on the qualification. I did have a suggestion on duties.
Oh, I do have one more piece of feedback.
Yeah.
Lobbyists, most of them, it's lobbyists in the county, not necessarily statewide. I don't know if we want to differentiate between the two, but Montgomery County, it's not a lobbyist, not a MoCo lobbyist. Howard County, I don't believe Howard County says it. Prince George's, I think it's not a PG, Prince George's lobbyist. So I don't know if we want to specify, or if we want to just.
Does in his recommendations right now.
Okay with leaving it as a council.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think people, I don't want to tie the hands of the county executive or tie the hands of the members in terms of who they want to appoint to represent them on the committee.
Okay.
So then in terms of qualifications, I'll zoom in a little. Does what I have written here reflect what we have just discussed?
The only thing I would add about the lobbyists, and David, you can attest to this, we've had these conversations in the past about who should register for be it. And the we start splitting hairs. And some people were even recommending that community leaders who come in and advocate for certain things be registered as lobbyists. We've often pushed back on it. So, I mean, I guess we can live with it. We could always change it if it becomes an issue. If we, on the other end, start making community leaders registered lobbyists.
Do we want to do the separate resolution? I kind of like that idea.
What idea do you like?
Look at Howard County, each confirmed by a separate resolution, or you just want to do them all together?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, no, I think I like each being confirmed separately. And that's what we do now with just about everything, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be animal control board or
It doesn't need to be separate, I guess. Yeah.
everybody is separate.
Yeah. No, I got you.
I guess one piece we did skip past with membership was the terms, and it does seem like so Howard does 4-year term. Let me see.
Howard does 6-year term, it says, doesn't it?
only for the first.
That was the
Sure,
first.
okay.
So can Joanne and Emily, can you talk about that 6-year thing? Because that did crop up in more than one.
That's because when they were starting their commission was like in 2018, and because they are election or in 20, yeah, they wanted people passed in 2018 or 2016, and they wanted those people to serve all the way through the election.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think Prince George is a really good example. I mean, if their commission was together, they would be near termed out before their program even goes into effect. So I think just giving them enough time to see through that first cycle.
Yeah, 6 years is so long now, gosh.
I think it just depends on when you start,
Mm-hmm.
given the, when you start. So I think 4 years is more than enough. And depending on when we start, we'll take a look at it then.
I agree.
Okay. And what's the magic of May 1st? They all seem to say May 1st is the beginning.
Is that this? Honestly, I don't.
I mean, it doesn't matter, just didn't
Yeah.
know if they're-
May 1st, Howard. Yeah, I mean, I think given that their recommendations are based around a fiscal year cycle, I'm wondering if that's just to make sure everybody is set in place, before the next fiscal year starts. But
Okay.
but that's just my best guess. I don't know if there's any merit to that. So yeah, Howard was May, Prince George's was May 1st, and then Baltimore City was May 1st.
I think that's probably, I would think there's some validity to what you're saying about May, and I saw it earlier, according to our, bill, when they have to submit their recommendation. So they have to have some time together to do that. That sounds like, even though we know, around here, we're way down the road come May 1st. But they only have one number to produce, so I guess that's not bad.
All right.
One number. That sounds reasonable. That's as good as any other time.
And then I just want to make sure there's nothing else to say about membership before we move on to duties. I think some of them have put in, vacancy filled in the same manner. If there's a vacancy, council just does a resolution to appoint them. I think I'm not sure how else it'd be done. I just wanted to make sure the group's comfortable with that.
Yeah. I think the only other flag, especially since a lot of this was already outlined in the bill, I think it's only Montgomery County that specifies that there can't be more than 3 individuals of the same political affiliation on the commission. They're the only ones that have, I don't think that's in Howard counties. So I think that's the one other piece for consideration. Because Howard counties is mostly Dem. There's one Republican on there. And I mean, a lot of that gets addressed anyway because of the council appointments. So that's probably why MoCo had to do that. Since MoCo is the entire council that's approving, or, selecting the commissioners versus the other jurisdictions where it's the council, everyone gets an individual selection.
Yeah, we have that requirement for the Board of Appeals, and it gets really tricky, because my appointment to the Board of Appeals is a Democrat, and at some point, some other council member has to put someone else on. So
Yeah, we talked about this a lot in Howard County, and that's why they removed it. It's like just too complicated. Like,
yeah, it is complicated.
To find the Republican or the Independent or the Democrat.
Yeah, I think it's too confusing, and the fact that each council member gets one makes pluralism, I think, more likely. Diversity.
Sounds good to me.
I tend to agree. I just don't like the, tie hands of people may want to appoint people. But like you said, you appointed Democrat. others appointed Republicans. You know, we want good people to do the job. We don't want to have a scenario where we tell somebody they can't.
Does anyone have any other membership flags before we move on to duties and positions? All right, I might just for the sake of visually doing this, I might just take this other stuff out so we can more easily visualize the county by county comparison here. As I said, the duties as outlined in Baltimore County's original bill really just state that 180 days before the fiscal year, the commission has to provide the county executive with a recommendation on how to fund or what to put in the upcoming fiscal year to appropriate to the fund for the program. The county executive basically has to do that unless we are dipping into dire financial times, as indicated by taking things out of the reserve fund. But under most circumstances, that recommendation this commission is providing is binding. But outside of that, the original legislation doesn't provide some of these more detailed things that you'll see other counties had. So I will maybe, sorry, this is hard to get in visual format here, but I'll try to zoom. If that's visible at all, folks, let me know. But for ease here, it looked like Howard and Prince George's were pretty much identical, and that Baltimore City pulled pretty much that same list up to here. This is the same thing as you'll see here and here with Prince George's, and then added these pieces about at least 18 months before the election, must conduct civic and engagement efforts. But this part here is sort of the meat of what 3 of the 4 others have done for duties and appointments.
Can you explain what is in reduced repayment?
That is a good question.
Let me look it up again. I believe it was referring to a specific term that was used in the bill. I believe it means reimbursement from the candidate, but I'll make sure that's clear.
The thing I was going to suggest, I do like having something in there about public education around the program, whether it's how Baltimore City has it or Montgomery County, or they'll have something in there about the commission taking on some responsibility of educating the community and candidates about how to use the program. I think is really valuable. And then I can't remember, so this Joanne might remember, or this could be on your list to ask Jared at the state board, the certifying participating candidates I think it was something they wanted. So the workload of this state board has gotten such that they need the commissions to be doing this, but we should double check that with him.
Yeah, I was gonna say the commissions play a role, but they're not the ones that like are approving it. It would be the county's liaison in this instance, or whoever you designated, not as support to the commission, but who is actually administering the program.
That was my question too. I didn't know, some of them have that the Department of Budget or Finance that provides the staff for the county council, and I didn't know what the preferred method.
Yeah, it's not the commission. There's no capacity. I mean, they're volunteers. There just wouldn't be capacity for them to even keep up. It's the liaison or that office. So MoCo, it's like their Office of Consumer Relations now, in that case.
But I feel like the county, if the Department of Finance might have a different role than the county council staff? I mean, I don't.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's not administered by the council. I mean, it varies by county where it's what department is overseeing it, but ideally it's like a department of finance that's independent of council staff. Like it's its
Okay,
own
that's
separate
what I-
department.
Great.
Yeah.
And I too like the community outreach. I think that's really, really important, what Baltimore City is doing too.
Mr. Chair, just for
Yes.
some clarification. So there is a provision that I think is standard that the candidate is personally liable for the funds remaining in their publicly funded campaign account. If that candidate has to withdraw for health reasons or another cause outside of the candidate's control, the commission is allowed to reduce the repayment that's meant to be made to the fund.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
So I will start trying to put this down here. So it seems like there's consensus about a public education component.
And I was going to say for chair and vice chair, I think you all just have to decide whether or not the commission gets to, amongst themselves, elect their chair and vice chair, like Howard County, or if we're like MoCo, where the council designates who the chair and vice chair is.
I would. I would split it myself. I would say that they can elect their own with the confirmation of the
Selected
I think they can pick their own chair and vice chair. I mean, that's what the planning board does. That's what Landmarks Commission does. I think or the county executive appoints the chair of the planning board though, right?
right.
Okay, I stand corrected. Well, the school board does, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them internally picking those two.
Okay. They can have an election, however they do it. The chair, how long will the chair position go? 4 years, 1 year? Chair each every year?
I want to say
Election at the
HOCO.
first meeting of the year?
Yeah, I want to say HOCO is 2 years, but a lot of that I don't know if it's explicit, like they decide amongst themselves. I want to say, but HOCO is 2-year term for their chair and vice chair.
Sounds reasonable. Live with 2 years. At some point, a couple of those years, you're only meeting twice a year.
So then, yeah, let me jump to the next chunk if that's where, if folks are okay with this for leadership. These next few pieces, I'll zoom in a little bit here. Are there any of these that folks want to flag? I'll highlight them there as concerns, as it seems like their standard practice. But I will throw them in our list here.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Um, okay.
And I know I'm sort of writing this on the go here. I won't, but I think at the end of the meeting, it'll be worth putting everything we've said today into one spot for us to look at again. So I just wanted to sort of chunk it out into what we can breeze through here and what needs to be sort of talked through more. So that there, so access financial records. It sounds like the reduced repayment is probably more of a function of the not necessarily the commission, but the folks dispersing the money.
No, I guess I'd rather leave it up to the commission as opposed to one person or two people. If something happens to a person and they can't go through with the election, for example, and I'd rather have more people making that decision than one or two.
Yeah, and I'd say the commissions, again, are not making these, they're having these discussions with the Department of Finance and whatever staffer is there, so they're not making these decisions alone, so.
Well, the issue for me is, I think generally you normally have a better people have a better opportunity to plead their case when more than one person or persons are for the judge, like a jury, you know what I mean, versus one person. I've seen cases where we have bureaucrats that I don't care what your story is, they'll probably sue you and sue you everything about you to get that money. And there may be a legitimate reason why somebody would want to show some mercy or compassion. I'm okay with the commission making that.
Me too.
And then I think that just leave this piece here. That's not what I meant to do, sorry. Make sure this doesn't seem very controversial, but just wanted to make sure folks are okay with putting that in ours as well.
Mhm.
And then I think that is everything that we sort of have a model to run off of. Are there for the qualifications piece? So let me move this up to our other stuff here.
Joe, I did see one part.
Oh, sorry.
Conduct a comprehensive review of a small dollar financing program after each regularly scheduled general election. Do we want to add that it would be their duty to make recommendations for changes as necessary? Right now, if I look at these, we're telling them to conduct a comprehensive review. And then it goes back to, so what? Done that, now what? My guess, splitting hairs, or doesn't matter.
Are you saying like if they've got recommendations on like fixes? Because that would go to the council then.
Right, but I guess the thing is that making it part of their duty to make such a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask if Joanne or Emily know that if there are any reporting requirements for the commissions, sort of when they do these follow-ups, because I would assume that would be an appropriate place for that type of thing if they're saying this is what happened.
Yeah, I know. I mean, MoCo is like really the only place, Montgomery County, the one place you could point to. I mean, when you look at their reports, they haven't made that many recommendations in terms of improvements, but one example would be they wanted a more you know, a better portal for candidates online on the website with more information. So that was an example of a recommendation that they made. As the council was making amendments, some of the commission, I want to say the chair of the commission, you know, weighed in a bit, but not anything more than that in that case. Yeah, so it all depends really on what you all want. If
I like the idea of some type of report at the end of a process that states, this is what happened, this is how we spent your taxpayer dollars, and this is our recommendations for changes, or these things worked well, these things didn't work well, whatever, some annual, not annual, because we talk about every 4 years, but some report that will be presented to the council, thus making it public for anybody to see. And in terms of
That makes sense, and I don't know if it was by mandate or just process that Montgomery County chose to use, where they had public hearings, I believe.
that was still the that was still more
council?
the council. Yeah, so even like the feedback form, that was the council, or the GO committee more than anything.
It would make sense to me if we're asking them to do a report that they have some sort of public hearing so that participating candidates or others have an opportunity to weigh in with feedback. But I'm fine with requiring a report if folks think that's a good idea.
No, the point is well taken. I mean, in order to get to that, I guess, in order to get to that report, they should be able to gather information as to what worked, what didn't work, and not necessarily solely talk about the dollars and cents.
So then does this, what I wrote here,
Commission files. Yeah, maybe saying in there, because I do think, now that I'm thinking about it, MoCo, like that should be the way kind of moving forward, like create this form anyway and gather that input. And they made sure they didn't just go to the candidates. You know, you could do a drop down and you could do it as a resident of the county also. Maybe you just didn't understand things in there. You have recommendations too. But yeah, I think the information gathering in whatever method they want, if it's a public forum or if it's a Google form. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once we tell them they have to make a report, then I don't know if we require them to have some public forum. They already have the educational part. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me on that.
I think we leave it to the commission, honestly. Yeah.
Read.
this is sort of its own standalone thing here. So does this then, set of things here, reflect the work group's consensus, and is there anything the work group thinks is missing from in terms of the commission's duties?
I was just gonna say, for the public education, I think Baltimore City makes clear that it's like 18 months before, you know, so that they're not just doing it from the start, because it takes so much time to pull together the manuals and all of that.
Right.
So it's more specific to around the election. Yeah.
Okay. So we can just pull this if that's what folks come forward with.
Mm-hmm.
But we can include in our in this work group's report, you know, the caveat that what it sounds like is that that's sort of a joined effort between the commission and the folks that staff it.
I was gonna say it's all over. I mean, Baltimore City allows them to kind of, I mean, they're already producing materials, so the guides and all of that. But Baltimore City, they can do events on their own, but they can also partner with advocates. We just did one with Howard County's commission. So I think if it's broad enough where they're able to collaborate with I think it has to be like my non-part, however they decide to do it though, but where they're able to collaborate or do it on their own. I think it's just the one thing.
I was wondering that myself, because to do public education takes, you know, a skill set that the commission members may or may not have, plus takes funding.
Yes and no. Yeah. I mean, it depends how much public education. I think it's outside of the materials. It's more like they're already developing that PowerPoint, the PowerPoint for the guide. So it's really just presentations using that PowerPoint, and some of that is going to be the liaison, whoever's hired that takes that on. But yeah, I don't think it's much. It comes down to the commission.
So the liaison is a new job?
Yes, it's required by law once the program goes into effect, that there's a designated employee or employees that administer the program within the local government.
And that's in state law, Joanne?
Yeah, state law.
Okay.
And MoCo, I mean, it's new. MoCo literally just hired their liaison. Howard County has not yet, but Howard County also doesn't have many candidates opted in. So,
okay, so that's not a position they've really filled until they really geared up for actually using the system.
yeah, so right now I think they're using a person who is in there, kind of just showing that. Yeah.
You wouldn't want to have to hire somebody. That budget and finance figure out who can do it. Will be the liaison.
Designated. Okay, so does this section represent everything we've just talked about, and do folks have any other things to add?
Looks good.
Okay. So then, if you'll bear with me, actually, I actually had one more question, because I did want to sort of lay out the this terms piece, right? If just because maybe we're uncertain as to when exactly this commission will get off the ground, but we want to aim to make it aligned the way the folks want, is the idea that the term should ideally end right after an election cycle. So if, say, this goes into effect in the 2026, should we be looking for a new term to start in 2027?
You know, a lot of them are I want to say some of them are able to, like, we have people that have done 2 terms, but yeah, I don't know if we've ever gone that far into it. It's always just been like the 4-year, but yeah, I don't know.
Also, you leave it at 4-year term and not get too caught up on the May 1st. Or if you leave it beginning May 1st, so that's when it'll start. But then when things happen and people come off, let's say a person serves 2 years and gets shipped off to Afghanistan, and then a council member or the county executive appoints another person, that person term is good for 4 years?
I would think they would fill out the term of the person they're replacing.
Yeah.
I think that's usually how it works. I
That's
mean,
what
I think the 4 years is based on making sure people are through an entire cycle. So I think keeping it 4 makes sense. And then the question is, should we do it like some of the other counties had, where the first term is 6 years, just to make sure, based on when we expect this law to go into effect, that we have people through the next election cycle.
I also wonder if there's any value to staggering, so that when the new committee comes in, it isn't learning everything from scratch, but there might be someone there with some, institutional knowledge.
Good point.
Yeah, I think that can be helpful. That's why
That's
most
why I was saying
people
that.
do 2 terms, I think,
Right.
had some people do 2 terms at least.
Yeah. And I was gonna say that's also where staff, obviously there's transition and staffing too, but that is in theory where the support for the commissions have support. So in theory, the commission support would fill that void, that knowledge gap as well.
So do folks want to explore the staggering idea, or is that?
I mean, what would staggering look like? Like,
I think we're getting into the weeds. I think this is good. I would just go with this.
I tend to agree. You have a whole new group. You have a whole new group. They have time to figure it out.
And hopefully some people will serve more than once to avoid that problem. But if it comes up, it comes up.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be repeats.
All right, so zooming out here, I'm just going to run through what we have said at this meeting to make sure we've covered everything that. Actually, I think we did the first thing at the bottom here. So we are going to adopt, and please stop me if this doesn't match what we've said. I just want to make sure it's said out loud. But for the council, a first 54 to 1, second 53 to 1, third 52 to 1 ratio of the matching. For executive, first 56 to 1, second 54 to 1, third 52 to 1 match ratio. We are going to do what other counties have done, saying that qualifying contributions must reside within Baltimore County. Eligible contributions can be received from anywhere else, but won't receive the match, and will be capped at that same $250. $12,000 aggregate amongst immediate family.
I have
And
a question on that, Joe.
sure.
Are we 12,000? Is that the limit for the person and his or her family? That includes contribution and or loan?
Yes, that is how other jurisdictions have it written. So, there was a variation whether it says aggregate or whether it says candidate 6,000, spouse 6,000 or whatever. But what is consistent is, I believe, and we can double check this, is contribution or loan or loans.
Yeah, it's each individual can give up to $6,000 with the total in aggregate not surpassing 12,000.
Right. Whether it's a contribution or a loan.
Right.
Okay.
And then we're not gonna make a strike through is what I'm looking for here. Recommendation here on the consumer price index, and then the last piece we went over is summarized here. I'll leave this up on screen.
On your screen, can you hit view text width? Or
Say that again?
visually impaired people? Not necessarily now, who cares, in the future. See what it looks like if you hit view on your screen and say text width. Over to Zoom. Yeah. No,
Sorry.
go to Zoom and hit text width. I want to see what it's going to look like on mine. Go to Zoom.
Yeah. Is this what you're looking for?
No, I was saying go to Zoom and hit text with and see what happens. Zoom
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
and
It's
hit
go on.
text with.
Yeah. Ah, okay.
There you go. I was just curious what it could look like. Okay.
And we'll send this all back around, obviously, before anything is filed in the report's name. But I'm that sort of gets through our agenda. I'm glad we ended up with a little bit of extra time because I from staff's perspective, these were sort of the things we wanted to hit. I wanted to make sure we're not missing anything in anybody's eyes, because I think we sort of have the meat of our report, and all that's left to do is sort of build out what our recommendations are into an actual report and send back to you to the work group to review and make sure it matches what we've said.
Good job, everyone.
Yep. Yep. Good.
Did it.
Yep,
Good
good
job,
job.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
A toast to everybody.
All right. And so I guess the only remaining question then is, do we want to meet again to talk about it, or do you feel like if everybody sort of confirms over email that the report that's as written reflects what the work group wants, that is okay?
I think that'll work.
Okay.
That'll work.
And then what's the step after that?
The recommendations would be used to draft the legislation. So we're hoping that within a few months. I don't want to make any promises on a public WebEx about timing, but the goal is within a few months of the report being filed to have something before the council that is reflective of what is in the report, and we the executive branch will work with the council to get that draft done and then put it before them and have them vote on it. So really,
Okay,
once this piece is wrapped up in a formalized report, then it's on to legislation.
good.
Very good. Good job.
Speaking of toast, I'm looking at that picture you have in the back, Philip. It looks very nice.
It's a toast. It's some kind of port, I guess. I don't know.
Awesome job.
All right. It's been fun. And we will, I guess, I'm done. I guess we'll.
I think we're done. Yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you. Yes.
everybody.
Take care. Nice working
you.
with you all.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
All right, bye.
All right.